Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today I will be speaking on whether or not you agree, but I feel that Wolfenstein: The New Order reinvigorated the old school first-person shooter style. But before that, if you enjoy discussions about PlayStation, Xbox, and PC gaming and messy rooms, then this channel's for you. Yes, for you. I'm talking to you. I see you. For you. So, why don't you consider subscribing? And again, if you're watching this video, thanks again for watching. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch me talk about video games, as that is my dream, to evidently be able to do this full time and give you guys the content and grow the community I am trying to build. So thank you. So now back to the topic at hand. Wolfenstein: The New Order was released in 2014 among popular titles such as Far Cry 4, Destiny, and Watch Dogs. And of course, that's naming a few, as 2014 had quite the release cycle. But this game started a trend, which was bringing back old school first-person shooters with the gameplay we see from them. Of course, with the release of Doom 2016, which released 2 years later, and its, evident sequel that was to mass acclaim, Doom Eternal. And, I've talked about that if you are an old viewer of the channel, when the composer had some beef. So check that video out if you hadn't seen it. It's a good video. Talks about all that drama if you don't know anything about it. But yeah, so I feel that this game, though, went to set the stage for Doom to eventually take over. I feel like this was the, appetizer. Doom 2016 was the dinner course. So was Eternal. And then the New Colossus was the evident sequel of Wolfenstein: The New Order. It was kind of like the dessert. Alright, let's discuss the game and set the stage. So, the story takes us to an alternate World War II history timeline where the world is more advanced than what we would see in the World War II historical content we have in our real world. But you, as the main character, BJ Blazkowicz, try to turn the tide with the rest of the Allied powers on a final assault to this fortress, as the Nazis are evidently winning the war. But you end up failing, and through a narrow escape, you were turned into a vegetable, essentially. End up living the rest of your days in a psychiatric hospital until 1960. As what would seem as a defense mechanism for you, BJ comes out of his vegetable state and fights the Nazis, who have begun killing all patients and staff to shut the place down. And then you go through the game killing Nazis and doing all fun ways of killing with them. But you end up meeting with the resistance and helping them fight the Nazis in an alternate but more advanced 1960s world. In the game, you see that the Nazis have automatic weapons that are more kind of like our standard assault rifles, like our AR-15s. And you would see that you could see MP40s that have been kind of changed. The shotguns are more, you have an automatic shotgun in the game. You have laser guns, basically. Sniper rifles, you name it. They are very well advanced. And in this really cool, what would those kind of weapons look like in 1960 if they were made by Nazis, is a very cool art style that I think is one of the coolest gun-looking art for a game I've seen in a long time. But the game does a good job setting up post-World War II Nazi America that is truly indoctrinated. I mean, the world has truly forgotten what life was like before the Nazis won, because of the fear and paranoia they enforce, as the people are too scared to question and rebel. I mean, it's very interesting. The kids of this time period who were born after World War II don't even remember. Like, they think this is the norm. While you have people like BJ and the resistance, and some people who lived through World War II do know what that used to look like. But it's very interesting to see how they really implement how scared people are and the paranoia they feel in this world. But as you learn throughout playing the game, there are a few of you who want to see the world liberated from the Nazi regime. There are newspapers and notes found in the game, and just listening on conversations between your fellow resistance members and hearing Nazis talk, and even in the tiny little sections you get to, I think, hear civilians talk. That may be the sequel, but I'm certain you get to hear people talk in the game. They are really scared, and you get to hear how the Nazis really love their power. They are very power hungry. Even the lowly soldiers enjoy having that power trip. And you hear through your resistance how it's just gotten worse and worse, and how they're trying to shut it down. You learn what you've missed in the years you've been in that vegetable state, locked in a psychiatric hospital. But game has 2 mechanics for health, which is a health counter, which is kind of like it's not a bar, but it's like you go from 0 to 100, of course. And an armor system that will buff you taking damage until it's fully depleted and you start taking damage on your health. As the game progresses, you begin to rely on that more, of course, but you can pick up health and armor bonuses that increase your health past the base 100, but once depleted, will go back to only 100 when you end up rising your health. And this is a classic health system that, of course, had been abandoned by 2014 as Call of Duty, of course, in today's standards, a very popular first-person shooter. It shifted to more regenerative health with popular titles such as COD 4 that really push that kind of health system into first-person shooters. And of course, another popular series that sadly has died out somewhat, Medal of Honor, which had abandoned their health system with their final 2 entries, Medal of Honor 2010 and the sequel, Medal of Honor Warfighter. I highly recommend you check these 2 titles out. Medal of Honor 2010 definitely is dated, but they're really great interpretations on what warfare was like in the early 2000s with the global war on terror in Afghanistan, with the tier 1 units like SEAL Team 6 is a highly prevalent unit used in both games, as well as in the first game they use a Army Special Forces unit called the Ranger Regiment, and I just highly recommend you check those out. They're fun story shooters. They're not anything spectacle, but they're fun if you love history and want to get the understanding of what warfare kind of looked like in a fictional setting story, but is in a realistic area. So, of course, back to the topic at hand. This was a very refreshing mechanic, as you couldn't be Superman of sorts due to the fact that you could lose your health in a matter of minutes if you had multiple enemies firing on you with automatic weapons, or even the mech enemies they introduced later in the game. But your armor would deplete quick enough. You weren't the Doom guy in a sense that you could really just run around, but once you got the proper arsenal, you really could just, with the fluid movement system, just destroy people. And it's very fun and satisfying to like build up that armor and health and then just go nuts on a bunch of Nazis and just mow them down. Dear Lord, it's so fun. With the soundtrack as well, which is made by Mick Gordon, who is popularly made 2016 Doom soundtrack and Eternal as well. It's just, oh my Lord, it is such a fun experience. Doom, of course, is the bar. Wolfenstein, though, set it, I feel like, until Doom raised it. Oh, man, so good, so good. You got to play these games. At least the New Order and the Old Blood. You don't have to play the sequel if you don't want, but you got to play those. They're great. Of course, the game also brought back stealth. Through researching for this video, I found out that the game had stealth in the original pre-3D Wolfenstein games, but they, of course, would modernize this. Of course, they couldn't take the non-3D kind of top-down stealth system. They, of course, modernized it with modern-day mechanics that you see in games from the time of 2014. And, of course, what lingers in today as stealth really hasn't evolved as much from then, except that as graphical upgrades happen, we get better shadows, and we actually let the AI rely on those shadows. It's very cool to see how that's developing with the new ray tracing and just better graphical experiences we get now. But now, while you had to be careful of your health, the game, of course, would still make you feel like a tank by allowing you to dual-wield weapons that were, you could do the pistol, shotgun, assault rifles. The only thing you couldn't do was the, like, miniguns, like, kind of like Halo, where Master Chief can pick up the Warthog turret, but he can't keep it, well, he can't keep it in his 2-weapon inventory. So it's kind of like that. But you could absolutely have 2 assault rifles or shotguns that just demolish and shred people to bits. It's insane. Like, if you don't own the game and you're kind of skeptical, go check out just a let's play of a random level. Oh my god. And you'll see in this video, of course, you just shred people, dude. It's crazy. I can't recommend this enough. Just go try the game out, please. It's a decent game from 2014 that doesn't steal your time, and you just, oh, it's such a roller coaster of just having fun with those weapons, at least. The game, of course, also brought back mini bosses that you fight throughout the game. They're not like your traditional health system mini bosses, but they're like Nazi, like mech kind of like mini bosses where you fight them to try to just beef up the gameplay and finish out a level. You also have those mini areas where you have waves of enemies of different types that, of course, are challenging, but once beaten would give you health and other armor rewards that would help you during future missions throughout the game. The movement, of course, is traditional in the way that you move is very fluid, and the weapons feel like they're weighted but are just perfect. BJ really is able to adapt well to the futuristic weapons that are a little different than his previous weapons he used in World War II. The combat, of course, is satisfying, especially when you use the stealth mechanic. You get these great knife finishers that are just brutal, but like they're just so satisfying. This game just does a great job of killing people. I hate to say it like that, but it's great. I highly recommend it. Now, did this game bring back old school FPS style? Yes and no. I know you're sitting there thinking, yes and no. What do you mean, dude? You just spent this whole time explaining it. While all the old gameplay mechanics are there, the game will also introduce mechanics that are from the original iterations but are new to the 3D Wolfenstein games. The stealth system, while optional, can change the flow of gameplay, as if you stealth an entire level, you minimize the combat you have to endure with the abundance of enemies that you can kill. Or you can go into that combat and not reap the extra rewards of ammo, health, replenishment, armor as well. You can get ammo and armor and health, but you might not get those three due to the combat, because you, of course, will lose ammo or health. You won't get the full ammo and health replenishment you could be promised by just stealthing in the game. Or you can, of course, just kill a few enemies with stealth and then just demolish the rest. But that's what's really great with this game. The choice is yours. You can go about it in those three ways any way you want. Of course, sometimes one is more rewarding than the other. You kind of just pick and choose. It's kind of an ebb and flow in this game. There's some levels you may want to stealth the entire thing. There are others you just want to go crazy. It's really up to you. Of course, there are level triggers that will introduce combat that is not stealth, but that is about it. The rest of it, you're really able to just kind of traverse and kill how you want, basically. So also, what's different about this and old school first-person shooters is BJ is a character who has emotion. He feels regret and guilt for what happened to his men during the final assault at the end of the Second World War, but also is a very emotional character who, when realizing what has happened in his absence, feels anger and a new fire to fight the Nazis that he had never really felt before. As you can tell in the beginning of the game, he's really feeling down. He feels like he might lose this one. While in this game, they have lost, so he's kind of like, and there's nothing for him to come back to, so he's nothing left to lose. So he's going to go full balls to the wall. Of course, he's going to destroy every Nazi he can that has destroyed the country he is very patriotic for, which is a big thing. BJ is very patriotic for the United States. And you get to know him as well through his inner dialogue that he'll say, like, he'll give his thoughts when you pick up a weapon, or you find extra ammo, or when the story beats say so, he'll start monologuing to himself, which is very annoying in most first-person shooters, but in this one it isn't, due to him being an established character that you see in cutscenes who speaks, and also introduces that he speaks while in the first person, so it doesn't feel awkward when he does it, like Call of Duty and other franchises have done, where you never really see the person, but you know their voice, which is very off-putting. Of course, one of the most controversial bits of this game is that there is romance. He does meet someone in the game, and they do have some very awkward scenes where it's sexual, but there's like only a couple, so if you can get through that, you'll be fine. Or I think you can just skip them, so you'll know when they're coming. They're very introductory, I guess. So, yeah. The game as well gives you little side quests to do as a way to get to know the other characters in the Rebellion hideout, which develops the world and how these characters are, where they're at in the game. This game does a very well kind of pulls from Mass Effect. In Mass Effect 2, you had your kind of character loyalty missions, but it kind of dials it way down, where there's short little missions in your little headquarters that help you get to know the characters more and establish those relationships as they develop more organic into the game. This game created the need for more classic first-person shooter games that we would, of course, receive with the sequel, The New Colossus, and, of course, Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. But Wolfenstein: The New Order is a modern interpretation of what the classic FPS should evolve into, and that is a story-driven, character-rich, and action-oriented game that keeps the good gunplay and enemy-rich gameplay while developing your characters as people you could possibly relate to, or even want to know better as they navigate the fight for the future of the free world. Again, I've said this in the video, I highly recommend you check this game out if you've never played it, as it is a treat. It might encourage you to play other games like it from the past. And I think that if you're on the fence for this game, just try it out. just try it. Trust me, this game is fun. It's character rich, story driven, and it keeps those old mechanics but modernizes them in the good sense to keep you going back for more, and even makes you want to maybe play the sequel. But do not play Youngblood. Dear, don't play that game. No good. No bueno. No good. But that's all I've got for y'all today. If you enjoyed the video, you've made it to the end. Congratulations. You have made it to the end. Please subscribe. Why don't you consider it? You've made it. Like I said, it also helps me grow the channel, grow the community, and also like the video helps my video spread across the algorithm to all the other people on the YouTube internet zone. So please consider liking this video. Helps it spread. And of course, if you've already subscribed, you've already liked the video, hit that notification bell. Go ahead and ring it for me. It's going to let you know about when I upload next and future other updates I might post on the channel. And again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, see you in the next one. Peace out.